Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairul mursalin Muhammadin an-nabiyyin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, yaqulu Allahu ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allaha wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala an-nabi. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Maulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. As we mentioned, this is kind of like a paradigm shift. Paradigm shift comes from one of our articles, 2006. Paradigm, a pattern, example, or model. An overall concept accepted by most people in an intellectual community as those in the natural sciences because of its effectiveness in explaining a complex process, idea, or set of data. So paradigm, of course, means model pattern, a set of ideas which describe some aspect of the world. Paradigms usually explain cause and effect, relationships that scientists use to make predictions, which are then tested. If their observations do not match their predictions, they revise their paradigms. Over time, their paradigms and their predictions become more accurate and useful. Do y'all remember the program on anticipation? Anticipation means to actually anticipate is the same thing as As-Sabiqun. Because As-Sabiqun are those who win a race, they outrace everybody, they get a feeling of where things are going. In fact, in the dictionary it says their predictions are so well that they, in many cases, they get a job done and then they go on about their business before other people even recognize what should be done. That's what As-Sabiqun means. It also means those who show the way. When we chose this name, As-Sabiqun, comes from As-Sabiqun al-Awwalun min al-Muhajirin wal-Ansar wal-Tabi'in. And it talks about a certain people. In the Tafsir, they mention that As-Sabiqun was the people who accepted Islam before Badr. And they mean that because, for instance, in Mecca, you remember in Mecca you don't read anything in the Quran about hypocrites. Mecca hypocrites, munafiqs, are all in Medina. Why? If you accepted Islam in Mecca, it was like Winston Churchill said, blood, sweat, and tears. That's all we got to offer you. You know, in other words, when you accepted Islam in Mecca, then you are going to come under the whole weight of society, and it's on you. So there was no reason to be a hypocrite. After the Battle of Badr, it showed that Islam might be here to stay. You know, they won that battle, 313 against over 1,000. They said, wait a minute. This now has a political, military they might be here to stay. So the people that accepted Islam before Bobby, they were in many cases known as As-Sabiqun. The Mufassir, the Tafsir writers, they said that this is not a Quranic dictum or what have you, but it's just also the ability to anticipate, which As-Sabiqun and anticipation, they all run together. Anybody that have read our As-Sabiquns, that we'll be writing them again, inshallah, but up to about 2010, maybe 2011 was the last one. And then it slowed down, but one thing about it, when you read those As-Sabiquns, they were exact predictors of what we had then and what we have now. Clear. Anyone want to argue with them? It's like arguing at a stop sign. You don't say stop, you say something else. Well, fine. If you want to argue with As-Sabiqun, just argue with them. It's okay with us. This thing of anticipation, when you can anticipate right now, and I mean this afternoon or tonight, whenever I feel like it, I'm going to California, inshallah, because there's nothing else for me to do here. That's when I leave. I know I have my own little measuring stick, you know. In fact, that's what a paradigm is, a way of measuring, anticipating. I kind of know when it's time to go. What will happen there, I don't know what they're going to do in California. But I know basically what I'm going to do. I know where we're headed. I know basically what we have to do to stay focused on where we're going. In other words, none of the shenanigans that they participate in will divert us from where we want to go. You know why? They never diverted us in the past. All the stuff that happened comes from the system of what's called drawing them in deep. Drawing them in deep. I'll admit all the policies and patterns of behavior we have used, strategies and tactics that we've used, it comes from tawakkul, it comes from trust in Allah, or tafweed. That's basically what it's come, because it's with all the systems focused on one person as the target, that means the whole United States government. Because one thing you have to have sense enough to know is when you're the target. Also, you have to do research and study. Well, what level of target? They got a lot of target. They got target a dope dealer. They target a hustler. They target all kinds. They target politicians. Like when I was in camp, one of the congressmen was there, and people was asking us basically just during the Watergate time, and they asked him some dumb question about the system. He said it's like a game of tag. They tag you and they say you're it. It's not personal. The whole thing is a sham. is a sham. And just like when they have those fraternities and they're like skull and bones, they'll have you sacrifice a little baby, you know, psychologically, a little white baby. They're not real. They might be doing real, but that's to get you used to and trained. Why do all those people get so high and they don't show any remorse or any? It's because they have been trained to do that. They didn't start off like that, but once they go through skull and bones and once they go through all the other training, then they are trained to do that. Every now and then one of them get upset, really upset. A congressman, oh man, y'all doing this to me because I'm black. Yeah, because I'm black. Because they want to show the rest of the people, right, that this is the real deal. And every now and then they got to pick up one of the members and sacrifice him. Drag him through the mud, all the public. Just because you're it, you're just the hell is attacked. It could have been me. Right? That's what the congressman was saying. He said, the hell is tagged. He wasn't no one of them crybaby congressman people. He just doing his time. He went on out and kept on rolling like it wasn't nothing. But it's a game of tag. He said, you're it. They have to sacrifice someone every now and then to show the world that this is a real system and it works. And if anybody breaks the law, we're going to punish them. That is the biggest bunch of bull crap you ever seen in your life. But that's the system. That's the pattern. Now, what does anticipation come in? Anticipation comes in now because we're in a great period in history. Remember we talked about whether an individual or the tree or that certain periods it goes through. Birth, right? It's born. Then it grows, then it declines, and it dies. That could be an organization, it could be a tree, it could be anything in the creation. That's the general. Now, everything doesn't go, some babies are aborted, they don't get a chance to. They're just stillborn, they don't go through the whole thing. But the general pattern, historical behavioral pattern is birth, growth, decline, and death. I mention that because if we're anticipating properly, there are certain things we have anticipated. Not only have we anticipated what they were going to do with us as an individual, we anticipated it very well, and we acted in accord with what would satisfy the need of that time. That means from now on back a little bit. Now we're going forward. We got an idea about what we want to do, but we want to speak to everyone else just briefly about this period. Because if you take birth, take growth, if you take decline, and if you take death, study the United States of America since about the time of the Vietnam War, since the time of big factory production. Let's say hedge against inflation and all of that. If you had to choose a number, you could just choose 1980. The late 70s was kicking in. one of the great signs that America had lost its way, number one, they used to have a saying, so goes GM, so goes America. No, what's good for GM is good for America. Do you remember the amount of General Motors cars and Ford cars? In 1973, 74, and 75, they had that oil boycott. Gas went from, let's say, 32, 33 cents, 30 cents a gallon. 30 cents a gallon. Well, let's say 35 cents. It went from 35 cents a gallon, right, to 70 cents a gallon. Then by 1980, 81, it was settling around $1.25. That was in a few short years. It had jumped 3 times. Between the late 1970s and the mid 1980s, let's take a 15-year period. Let's say 1990, 75 or something. What happened? By 1990, there were hardly any General Motors cars on the road. Why? If anybody can visualize the last giant Brougham they made, Fleetwood Brougham, 1985, it was a block long. It was a block long. You saw the cars I had. They had, in the old ones, they had 472 cubic inches. After 1970, they jumped to 500 cubic inches. They had 4-barrel carburetors. Anybody remember that? 4-barrel carburetors? I guess that's about it. Or like a little car, like a little Ford, the old 52 Fords and stuff. They had a 1-barrel carburetor, 1 jet. Little bitty thing. But everything else, they had a 4-barrel carburetor, a 2-barrel carburetor, and a 1-barrel carburetor. All the big GM cars, all of them, all the V8s had 4-barrel carburetors. $11 miles a gallon on the highway and 9 in the city. The gas tank was 36 gallons in it. Oh, yeah, it was 30. My car, it had 36 gallons. And I could fill it up from empty for $10. And now it would be 60 cents. Oh no, it'd be like, oh no, it wouldn't. It'd be like $80. Right? To fill up one of them things. The paradigm shift, it slipped up on America. The other thing, remember inflation? Y'all know inflation, 10, 15%. When you put your money in the bank, you got about 10% interest. Do you notice you don't hardly get no interest in the bank? The purpose of the bank used to be to loan money and then pay you for keeping their money. Now they want to pay, they don't want your money. Technically, the government give them money, right? At 0%, at 1.0, I'm talking about the one over here and the other zeros for it. Interest for them. In other words, it's free money. Remember all the services you used to get at the bank? free checking, tellers everywhere. You don't have that anymore.
Pay them.
You might gotta pay them, hey. They don't need our money. The economy, everything has changed. General Motors went to ruling the world to begging people to buy their cars and trucks. It's a paradigm shift. American cars, only people that bought them was Americans. In Europe, you take Europe, one thing about Europe, the other thing about Japan, and UK, Great Britain, they're island countries. They have to import all their oil. When they import all their oil, it's high. It's expensive. They can't have things. We was paying 30 cents a gallon. 35 cents a gallon. So in those days, the bigger, every time a new car came out, it was a little bit bigger. This is bigger, roomier, and them cars was big. You get in them things now, it's like a house. Man, look at all this room. Paradigm shift. Things happen in the world that became dinosaurs. It took them planned obsolescence. Anybody ever heard of planned obsolescence? That means you had to get, now I bought a new Cadillac, not a new, I just show you one picture, but I had a ton of them. I had them. They was parked all around the place. Black ones, white ones, all kind. So, planned obsolescence. The last good Cadillac I had was a 1965 that I considered good. A nice, long, sleek one. Nice. Yeah, it was nice. The 67 wasn't as good. The 69s, I got 50,000 miles on the thing and needed a new transmission. 50,000 miles. Lucky it was in warranty, because in 69, they had 50,000 miles